Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Chat On with GYC Vegas, produced in partnership with the Sherlock team at Cross Country Mortgage. I'm your host, Gina Yager, founder and director of GYC Vegas, an award-winning PR and marketing agency. We believe every company has a story to tell, and we're passionate about getting businesses recognized. At Get Your Chat On, we sit down with local professionals to get to know a little about their organization, their role, and their perspective on our vibrant business community here in Southern Nevada. On today's episode, we're chatting with Henderson's premier photographer, Mikel Conrad, owner and lead photographer behind Mikel's Photography and Design, also affectionately known as Henderson's photographer. Since 2004, Mikel and his team have been crafting timeless portraits and preserving legacies, both in their impressive 1,600 square foot studio on Water Street and on location throughout the valley. From capturing family portraits and senior photos, honoring veterans and our elders, Mikel's work is deeply rooted in storytelling and community service. A lifetime Henderson resident and Eagle Scout himself, along with his 3 sons, Mikel's commitment to giving back shines through his support of local businesses, Rotary projects, and Toys for Tots. Hi, Mikel. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man.
Of course, of course. So tell us a little bit more about Mikel's photography and what you do there, how you bring these stories to life.
You know, Mikel's photography started 20 years ago. Just that's where it started. And it wasn't my first rodeo to start. It was that was the good Lord put me in that direction. So that's what how I got started in there. But, you know, I've got a 1,600 square foot studio. I started when I was at a friend of mine's place downtown Henderson. A lot of people, the old timers, remember photography by van.
Okay.
And I started there and just kind of worked my way up to my own place.
Okay.
And we love creating stories about people and about what they do.
Okay.
And making people feel good about themselves and how they look.
Right.
Like that.
Of course. Yeah. So what's your journey to today? How did you get to this place? How did you discovered that this was your true calling? You said this wasn't your first thing. So 20 years ago, you did something else before this. Huh?
Well, I've been doing this 30 years, 10 years with at another studio, 20 on my own.
Okay.
So my goal was to be a first responder, paramedic, firefighter, policeman.
Okay.
I grew up around those guys.
Okay.
So downtown Henderson, where I grew up, I knew all the police officers and firemen from the day, and that's what I wanted to be. And so I was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. When it came to doing all the questions and the sit-ups and all that stuff, I was like one or two sit-ups off the things.
Right.
Maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds off on a run.
Okay.
For years I did that, and 13 years I was at security at the hotel.
Okay.
And I got my EMT certification. I started the EMT program in the hotel, started all that, but I just never could get past that next niche. And I played with the photography and had a lot of fun with it, outdoor photography and with families and a few people here and there, and I got pretty good at it.
Okay.
And that's when my friend Van Frazier, who had photography by Van, says, "Hey, I need somebody, and you're pretty good." And sometimes the Lord points you in the right direction. You just got to know how to follow it. So that's what I did, and I haven't looked back. I tell people all the time, other than losing our son one time 20 years ago, this has been the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but it's been the most enjoyable and the most blessed thing I've ever done.
Wow.
On that.
So. So that was your true calling. You just knew it was meant to be. You thought you wanted one thing, but yeah, you said God put you in another direction. So this is where you're supposed to be.
You know, I'm a kind of guy who wants to go out and help people. You know, if I see a wreck, I'm stopping. I'm gonna go out and run to it. If I see a fire, and it's like at Samstown, there's fires, I ran. That's just my nature. My wife hates it. I just run towards that stuff. And so. I've always wanted to help, and I found in photography, especially in portrait photography, you can still do that. You can still help people through things. There's people who lose family members, people who lose their family members, and we talk about it. We have a good cry sometimes together. There's times when families get together and they haven't been together for 30 years, and it's it's a blessing to take that picture and capture that portrait of 30 people in the family that they haven't been together for so long to capture those moments. So in a way, it's the same thing.
They haven't been in the same room. Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. What's the mission and the purpose that lies at the heart of your work, do you feel?
You know, the mission is basically to help everyone to feel good about themselves. Capture those memories. You know, I love capturing, like I say, we just had, a week and a half ago, we had a family of 30 come in the studio. And the mom was coming in, she's 75, 78. She had no idea all of her kids, 5 kids, and all the grandkids, everybody was here for her birthday.
Wow. Okay.
On her birthday, she came to the studio for a photo session that her husband was getting her. all the rest of the family was behind the scene.
Oh my.
And she came walking in, and all of her kids are there. Happy birthday, Mom. And, it was a joyous moment.
Wow.
That's what I love doing. Keep bringing those families and those missions together like that. We did another one several years ago where the young couple and had their parents, and they were doing a photo shoot with them, but they were pregnant. And Mom and Dad didn't know about it. So they had a reveal right there. And they says, get Mom to smile, say, oh, so-and-so wants to be pregnant. And so I say the name, and she's like, oh, I wish he was. And he pulls out the little ultrasound picture, and it was a fantastic moment. Bringing moments like that and telling stories and bringing the families together, it's important.
That's exciting.
We need to do that. So.
And you get to capture a genuine happiness, a real smile, right? Yeah. Not just a smile for the camera, but this is, a real moment where,
I become part of their family. I become Uncle John. I become Uncle Mike, and I tell them, I says, I'm crazy Uncle Mike. I am medicated, so it's okay, so we're good.
What's that motivating spark, do you think, that gets you out of bed every day and like happy and just thankful that you get to do what you do?
One, this is taking care of my family. That's getting up every day and taking care of the family.
Okay, right.
But other than that, it's just, I guess it just brings joy in my life. If I'm working with a family, or if I'm working with a high school senior or someone, the seniors, especially young women, they get beat down a lot, and they're always on social media, and they have to judge themselves, to social media, and they don't think they're worth anything half the time, all that stuff. Right. And I'd say, no, we're all different. You are who you are, and that's good. God made you for that reason. And I think, that's just, I like just building people up, make them feel self-confident, and just give them that confidence that they can feel like they can go out and conquer the world after their photo shoot. And for businesses and stuff like that, it's the same thing. I want to get the right messages out, for the people who are doing business.
Give me some tips. Like, how do you do that? How do you make people feel good about themselves when you're capturing their image?
A lot of time I think I try not to brag about and say, oh, you look at it. You do too much of that and it becomes fake.
Right.
But I think the genuine reaction is through the lighting and through the posing and just through some fun, and tell them my dumb dad jokes that I do. They just, just relax the atmosphere and having fun. That they, on the back of the camera says, look at this, look at that shot, look at this image. And they go, that's me? They go, yeah, that's, that's you. And it's amazing what people think. Too many times we judge ourselves because when we look in the mirror, we see a reflection. We see ourselves every day as a reflection, but we don't see ourselves as a photo. It's the opposite. So a photo is how people see us.
Right.
And so a reflection and a photo of ourselves are two different images. And so getting people to understand that you look great, from the other point of view is important. And I try to do that and make that happen for people.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just, while you were talking, this just came into my head.
Yeah.
But these AI headshots, what do you think of them? Yeah. And are they doing anything to you? Are they impacting you at all?
If they are, I haven't noticed.
Okay, good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I just, people want genuine people to work with. They don't want fake. Now, do I use AI? Yes. On you or on a subject? No. I mean, if I have to change a background or if I have a specific background I want that I want to create, I'll use AI to create that background. That's different than taking someone's headshot and making them, super glamorous.
Right.
I mean, so yeah, that's just, I think people, they want that authenticity.
Yeah.
And if you're being fake about it, people are going to realize it. And I tell people all the time, especially in marketing, and you know this, of course, that what's the message you want to send? If you're looking to sell $1 million homes, you better look like a millionaire. If you're looking to, tell that story, you better look like you're really wanting it on that. So
I have a little funny story. So I had a client that doesn't really have a headshot other than some selfies and just something that someone took casually of her. And so I downloaded one of those AI headshot generators last week to see if I could kind of doctor something up for her because we were on a quick turnaround. I told her I could hire a photographer. I know plenty. Come down, take a photo of you. She's like, no. And I'm like, let me see if I could do something. So I ended up having to upload pictures of myself, and I uploaded 8 or so. Half of them were actual real professional photography photos that I had laying around. So I've spent some time having some fun generating some images, but every image that I show my husband or a good friend, somebody who knows me really well, they're like, it looks like you, but like not.
Yeah.
It's like off a little bit.
Yep.
Like those aren't your teeth. They look like veneers in the photo. Or the best is the hands that it makes. Oh, I had to cut off every photo.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to use any of them, but I had where the hands were posed, either my finger was cut off right here, or I look like I had just like this kind of hands,
or
like
doing the Spock
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or I had some alien hands, or they were all jumbled, or they looked old, or looked like there was a piece of metal sticking out of it, or something so strange.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was yes. You cannot recreate.
You know, and when you look at
Real
when you look
photos.
at AI, especially if it's just a simple headshot, and you look at their face, well, you'll again go back to the teeth. You see
Yeah.
their teeth; they're fuzzy, they're not sharp. There's
Yeah.
different things about it that it's just again, you go back to the authenticity that people want.
Yeah.
That's not it.
Yeah, and you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you definitely get what you pay for. You know, if you don't want to pay the money that hire me for your headshots, you'll go down and have your neighbor do it. But you're going to get what you pay for in the long run. If people, like, again, the message is if people see that you're willing to put time and energy and money into yourself to make yourself look good,
Yeah,
then they think, okay, the product that you offer me is going to be the same quality. But if you're just going cheaply on you, like, well, the product that you're offering me, how cheap are you going to go on that if
Right.
you're going cheap on you?
right.
So-
Exactly. I know, it's a good point. What I know you're really involved in Henderson Chamber,
Yep.
and you're involved in a lot of other community initiatives. Talk a little bit about that, how you give back.
You know, I've always given back to the community. I mean, I've 35 years as a Scoutmaster and Scout leader. My boys are all Eagle Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout. So I'm very into the Eagles and to the Boy Scouts of America, or the Scouting in America. And I like giving back. So I find that if I can find a cause I like, then I'm going to get, and if I have the time, I'm going to get back into that. And I think one of the ones I found just recently was when I was with my uncle. He was 80 for his 80th birthday, and he gave me all of his slides for when he served in Korea and during the Korea War. And we ran through them. And I made a book for him and the whole 9 yards for his birthday. And he had stories about all the 600 slides. He could probably 80% of them tell me each one what was going on.
Oh,
It was
wow.
really interesting. I thought, you know what? There's other veterans, that have stories. And I thought I started my veterans project with the veterans, and
Okay.
I started photographing World War II veterans, and it's just a snapshot of their stories of who they were and what they did. I wasn't looking to do a book of anybody in particular, but just a snapshot to keep their memory alive, because those World War IIs, we were losing those guys fast.
Right.
Then I realized that we're losing our Vietnam and our veterans, Vietnam and Korea veterans, just as fast.
Okay.
They're because of the Agent Orange.
Right.
So I started working with those guys, and the stories they have about, what they did, where they were, how they served, and sometimes it's just being a cook, but their story of how they got there to on the ship or wherever they served as a cook was interesting, and I think those stories keep those stories alive, and so I've been working with that. I've got over probably 300-400 images of veterans from
Wow.
that era, from those eras. I'm working with Honorary Flight of Southern Nevada, where I fly out every 6 months to Washington, D.C., and photograph that whole trip of taking Vietnam, Korea, and World War II veterans back to D.C. to see all the memorials dedicated to them.
Wow.
And
okay.
it's just a great thing to capture those moments and that imagery given back, because I tell people all the time, without that generation, those guys right there, we wouldn't have what we have today.
Right.
Not at all. That was a different breed of people than it was after post 9/11. Post 9/11, you have bigger guys, big strong guys, and tats and beards. The kid said, "You kicked on our front door, we're going to kick in your front teeth." These guys from Vietnam, Korea, and World War II, they were schoolboys.
Right. They
17,
were drafted.
A lot of them drafted.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys I talked to, especially in World War II, some of them are like, "This is not working at home, Dad. Sign me up." 16, sign me up. And Dad says, "Okay, fine. You're gone. See you later." And so there's a lot of stories, and some of the stories were just amazing. One of my favorite is I got to photograph 3 90-year-olds. This is like about 4 years ago. And they're all from New York, Jewish descent, super nice guys. They all served in different parts. One was in Normandy, like the third wave in Normandy. The other guy was a bombardier, 19 dropping, from the big 52s, dropping the bombs, 19.
Wow.
And he's flying over Scotland to that big thing. He saw like 30 or 50 other aircraft. He goes, "I'm in the soup now." But it was interesting. I get down there, and they're all 3 at the house, and the wife goes, "Michael," that thick Jewish New York accent. Michael, we're gonna feed you first. I said, no. She goes, I'm Jewish. We're gonna feed you. Yes, ma'am. And so she's got a big spread, and about halfway through, she goes, girls, let's go in the other room, let the boys talk. And who does that anymore? So for about 2.5, 3 hours, the four of us sat there and talked, and they told me their stories. We laughed, we cried. It was just fabulous. And for me, the 60-year-old guy, or 59 at the time, having so much fun with these 90-year-olds. There's got to be a sin for that, because it was too much fun, on that. But that's what was enjoyable in making them feel good, making them feel like they were remembered on them.
And when you take these photos, you have these photo sessions, where do these pictures end up? Where do their stories end up?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What are you doing with it?
My first, I started because I wanted to have just a display set up. And I have a display of about 30 images of 24-inch portraits. At your studio? No, they go around town. So I'll get phone calls for them, and so they'll be somewhere here and there. They'll be popping around town, especially during a Veterans Day or Memorial Day or whatever, if there's an event.
Okay.
And so once I started getting those, now I have 300. And so my thought was I just take and have this display, traveling display. Now I have over 300, and people are asking me, when's the book? Where's the book?
Yeah.
I'm going,
it's about time now.
Yeah. And so that's the next part. So part of them are on my website. I'm building my website where they can go on my website. They can see my personal projects, and they can see, my veterans projects. They can see a bunch of them there, and I need to add more to it. But that's, I'm trying to mix it with everything else I do.
Right.
Mix that all in to keep their story alive and to share that story. And probably going to work on a book and more displays. And, I've done a couple calendars. When I go back to DC with Honor Flight, I'll make a calendar of the Honor Flight trips that we take and sell those to help Honor Flight and like that.
Can people, so do you do these veteran portraits for a fee, or is it
so I don't charge them anything. So they don't charge. Now, if they want to purchase something, I'll give them a great discount on that. Okay. But in most of them, it's about 50-50. Some will purchase, some won't. That's fine. Whatever. Okay. But I just want to capture their story and their moment.
And so can somebody nominate a vet for you to take a photo of?
Oh, they call me.
They just call you?
They call me, say, Michael, I've got my uncle or my father who was a veteran in Vietnam. I've got I got my grandfather. He might be from World War II. I photographed 6 months ago a guy who was 102 years old.
Wow.
Again, third wave of Normandy. And he lives on his own. Very healthy, very well.
Wow. And there's not many left.
Not many left. So if people know anybody that's a veteran, Vietnam, Korea, or World War II veteran, and they just, call me and say, hey, I want to bring them to the studio, or I'll go to them. I've gone to the nursing homes and I've photographed them just to honor them and to keep that memory alive.
Okay. Wow, that's fantastic.
It's easy.
Professional advice. Let's talk about looking back. What are some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, throughout your career that you could share with others who are just starting out or maybe even switching careers? Yeah.
So I tell people, they go, what school did you go to, Mike? Where do you go? I says, I went to the School of Hard Knocks. I saw the deep end of the pool. I dove in, here I am. So that's what I did. So I tell people all the time, especially the kids, when they ask me, I want to go to school. I said, what do you want to study? Well, I don't know. I said, take a business class. So I might be a portrait photographer. I might be an artist, but I'm a businessman first. Right. Because, it's all about the business. If I don't run the business correctly in doing that, taxes or this or that, or, that is the whole thing shot. And so I can't make a living. Right. So I'm a business first, but I really shine as a portrait photographer, artist on that. So a lot of times I'll tell people, especially the young kids who are trying to figure out what they want to do and whatnot, understand business, understand the marketing, understand where you want to take it on that. The talent that you have and whatever you want to do. If you want to just be the best Lincoln log builder, that's fine. But you find a niche, Again, I'll have the high school kids come up to me. I want to be a photographer. Okay. What time? Oh, I want to be a landscape. Okay. Why? Because I take really good pictures. So do I. Why? What's your, so not just I want to do it because I do something well, or I've been told I've been doing something well. Right. Find that business side of it, and then find a niche, because I tell the kids all the time, I says, back when I grew up, going to the national parks was a chore. Not everyone had access. The access is unbelievable to the parks right now. national parks or just outside anywhere. The cell phones take pretty nice pictures, landscape pictures.
Right. Yeah.
So why should I take it? If you love taking pictures of mountains and want to sell those, well, I can take the same picture with a phone.
Right.
What's the difference? So find that difference in how to separate yourself. And that's what I do with my work. There's 1,001 photographers out there nowadays, especially with the digital. I don't play well in the sandbox. So I have to work, and my posing, my lighting, everything I do is I try to elevate above the standard so that I shine and I'm different.
That's good. Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you think separates yourself from that competition?
It's really lighting. Understanding in photography world, it's understanding the light and how light works, because photography is recording light and shadows. And if you don't understand how light works, then it's going to be hard. I mean, you can go out and take a picture and it'll look nice, but if you want a little bit more dramatics, a little more of scene, then you got to work the light. And when I teach photography, I tell people all the time, if you want to be a natural light photographer, fine, knock yourself out, but understand how light works, where it comes from, what does it do, what kind of colors are there? There's different colors of light. All these different things aspect to bring that so they can create the image versus just click, here's a picture and here's a thumb drive.
What's your favorite, natural light or inside the studio?
So I cheat. When I go on location, especially if it's outdoor photography, I'll take my strobe light with me.
Good, yeah.
So because
there's no shadows, right?
No, there are shadows. So if it's
at least on the face, I mean.
Well, no. So think of it this way: if it's a big family, no, I'm going to flat light it a little bit, just to the touch. So what happens when you take your camera out there and you want to photograph a family, and you're just going to just use your camera? Your camera will expose correctly for the family, and then the background is overexposed. Your skies, your blue skies, now are pure white.
Right.
Your greens of your grass or greens of a bush, they go yellow because they're overexposed.
Right.
So if it's a family, like I'll go out on location quite often, outside by the pool or outside in the desert or a park, I'll take probably about a 30 or 40-inch softbox, big modifier, and I'll take it out. And if the sun is coming from left to right, I'll take that softbox from left to right. So it will match the sun where it comes from. On that. And there might be a soft shadow on their face, which is fine. But what happens then is I can light the family correctly, and by balancing my light with the sunlight, now I have blue skies, now I have green grass, I have the greens, all the colors match instead of being overexposed and yellow and everything. So a lot of times, now if it's just an individual person or two or three, and there's some really great reflective light coming from somewhere, and I see it like that, I do natural light like that. But again, I want to control the light. I want to control all the looks of it. I love the more dramatics in my photography. We just did a shot the other day with film noir, the old black and whites.
Yeah.
I love doing that kind of stuff. I love the films from Hitchcock and that whole 60s and 50s era where it had that little more dramatics. Everything nowadays is real flattened like that. I want, again, I want to be a little more dramatic in my imagery.
Okay, that's really cool. I love hearing the artistry side. Maybe it is an art. That's exactly what you do. Yeah. You're an artist. Upcoming initiatives. So you told us about your veterans, One Story at a Time images. I know you have a legacy portraits that you do too. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? So
the legacy portraits to me, again, it kind of ties back into the veterans. So I've photographed a lot of people who have maybe a 50th, 60th, 70th wedding anniversary. Maybe the grandma is, grandma and grandpa, they're both in their 90s and they're still together 60, 70 years later. I think photographing our elders, that are 80 and older, that's a whole different era. And it's that same era that Vietnam, Korea, and in World War II era. I think it's a legacy that we need to remember and cherish, of what they did. Because I can tell you my mother's 83, and I can tell you that, she'll talk about when she grew up in Pioche, up in northeast Nevada, that there was an outhouse, there was a one room, and they had to build rooms and all the different stories. And it's just fascinating because so many of us nowadays, we have all these products, so we can just, in a heartbeat, get on Amazon, go buy what we want. Go down to Lowe's, get what we want. But we don't remember what it was like. I mean, seriously, less than 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Our parents are, maybe grandparents at most.
Right.
And their stories. And I think if we forget about that, then we'll just take everything for advantage.
Right.
And so I love photographing these older couples, these older people, grandparents, and just creating a legacy portrait and the legacy that they're leaving. And I like to have their story. And usually a lot of times I'll ask people, I says, can you write a letter to your family? Let's put it on the back of the picture. So when the day comes that you pass, they can have that portrait and they see that here's a letter from you telling them about your legacy, a little bit about your story on that.
Wow. That's really amazing.
So I think it's just bringing families together and that legacy together where they, people know where they come from.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So, and I got a couple others. I work, I like, I'm an American art boy. I mean, I got my veterans. I like cowboys. You got a cowboy, I'll photograph a cowboy out and the horses out there any day. Love the cowboy shoots. My Harleys, my bikers, love all doing those kind of shoots.
Oh, that's cool.
All those kind of things. It's just Americana type thing.
Okay.
Feel.
Okay.
So
nice.
I have fun.
Speaking of fun, we're going to get into a fun segment that I like doing. It's doing business in Vegas, Mad Lib style. So I will ask you a question. You'll fill in the blank with what the first thing comes to mind.
Gotcha.
So when doing business in Las Vegas, it's essential to have a solid strategy for
thinking about others, not yourself.
Okay. Yeah. The key to networking in Las Vegas is to always remember to
talk about them, not you.
In Las Vegas, it's not just about business. It's also about
relationship building.
One thing every new transplant should know before doing business in Vegas is to never underestimate the power of
the sun.
The sun. You're the first person who's ever said that.
The sun.
That's very fitting, yes.
Many people come out here and they move like, it's so hot. I was like, you moved here. Don't like the sun and don't like the heat. Go back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hot. And I've grown up here since I was 2. So it doesn't bother me. It does get hot, but
I thought you were saying it's the sun because of, we just had the whole conversation about light.
Yeah. Nope. You don't like the heat. Don't like the kitchen.
Well, people probably ask you all the time, like, let's do an outdoor photo shoot. And you're like, well, it is July. Do you want to? Yeah.
And I'll say, we're going to go 8 o'clock in the morning or we're going to go real late just because especially if they got young kids. I will say, if you want to do it at noon and that's the only time you can do it, fine. But just understand
know everybody's going to be sweating.
It's going to be hot.
Let's see. When it comes to connecting with a business contact over coffee, lunch, or drinks, you can't go wrong meeting at
any kind of Starbucks, and I don't drink coffee, but any kind of like a donut shop, any kind of open area.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite maybe on Water Street that you want to give a shout out to?
Water Street, I like them all. Gads. Spot here because I'll say somebody and I will forget somebody. And I'm gonna get in trouble.
No, it's okay. You can
I like
shout out one place.
Public Works is a great place because it's down there. They got the coffee, they got the drinks, orange juice, whatever for breakfast, and they got great cinnamon rolls and great danishes and stuff like that too. Yeah. So we'll meet. I'll meet if I have someone. They do. Let's do coffee. I says okay. Well, let's go up to Public Works down there because they've got good water, the water or the apple juice or orange juice that I drink, and then and then they got the big Danish that I like.
What's the best way to unwind after a long day of meetings or photo shoots, etc.? How do you like to indulge in kind of
depends on the time I get home. I love doing yard work. I love that. It's kind of when you start digging in the dirt, it's kind of therapeutic. So a little bit of yard work, it always helps.
Yeah.
Just spend some time outdoors with the family, or sometimes it's just chilling in the recliner with a good movie.
Yeah.
With my wife.
Sounds like my kind of evening as well.
Yeah.
Okay, now we do our fun personal lightning round of questions.
Gotcha.
Because we are not just what we do for a living. We are people
100%.
with personal lives that are very vibrant. You have a big family, and I know you love to spend time with them. So if you could teleport anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
Anywhere in the world right now?
Yeah.
By myself, or do I have to take somebody with me?
Oh, you could take someone with me.
All right, I'll take my wife. So, yeah, I'd be in trouble if I did it. I love the mountains. Now, I mean, a lot of people say, I love my daughter's in Hawaii with her family because that's where her husband's stationed. I love them. But if I had a chance to go anywhere in the world, I'm a mountain guy. I love the mountains. I love going camping in the mountains. And that's kind of where I'd pick.
That's where you would go.
Yeah.
Nice. I love the mountain too. What did you want to be when you grew up? You talked about EMT. Was that it?
I was dedicated to be a police officer or a EMT or a firefighter, and that's I did the training, I did through all this stuff, but it's just like I say, the Lord pointed me in a different direction.
Yeah, you were meant to be a photographer.
Yeah.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be, and how would you use it?
If I could have superpower, is just making sure everyone knew that they felt that they were loved.
Oh, yeah.
That's
a
make
good
sure
one.
there's not enough of that to go around.
Right.
Make sure everyone felt that they're good people.
Yeah.
That they're kind and that. So.
What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done, and would you do it again?
Probably I'll do anything. Yes. Yeah. So most adventurous things I've ever done. I've backpacked over 100 miles with the Scouts over 10 days, and it killed me half the time, but I'd do it again because I love backpacking with the youth and with my boys. And I think I've done some crazy things, but that was probably the highest adventure things where you're 10 days, 10 days on the backpack trail with your boys. And especially my boys when I took them in the scouting program. And our last one that we did 9 years ago up in north central New Mexico, up at a big ranch, Boy Scout ranch. Just wonderful, beautiful country. But boy, it's as you get older, it's not as easy.
Right.
But I do it I'd do it again if I was taking my boys. Just spend time with them.
Nice. Yeah, because you're bonding and you're it's a lot more than something that's like adventurous that takes 3 minutes to do. Jumping out of an airplane or bungee jumping or something.
No, if the airplane's flying well, there's no reason to jump. There's no reason to jump on that. So yeah. So I told my because I love fishing up in the mountains, and I'd take the boys. We'd all go fishing. And so they're all gone doing their own thing, whatnot, out of the house. And my wife goes, we're up camping or wherever. She goes, why don't you go fishing? Because it's by myself. I don't want to go by myself.
Yeah.
She goes, but you went with the boys, and they were like, 100 yards from me. I says, but I was with my boys.
Yeah, right.
I might have not been together in the same bubble, but I was with them, and we had time to spend time together.
Yeah, absolutely. Last one. If you could swap lives with a fictional character for a week, who would it be?
Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. Adventurous, daring. Yeah. Indiana Jones in a heartbeat.
That's all. Yeah. That seems very fitting from everything that you've, talked about so far.
Yeah.
Well, it's been so much fun chatting with you. Tell people how they can learn more about Mikel's photography and design and get a hold of you and follow your work.
So if they can go on my website, it's mikelsphotography.com, and it's MIKELS photography.com. It's different because I'm different. The way my mother spelled my name, I don't know. I tell people that she was on morphine. I don't know why. So, but yeah, mikelsphotography.com, and they can reach me at 702-564-7166. They can Facebook me. They can Instagram me.
Stop by the studio.
Water Street. Water Street, downtown Water Street. Call me up and let's have lunch. They want to take a tour of the studio and see all the work I have in there. I'm all there.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate this.
Thank you. Well, it's a wrap for today's episode. Be sure to follow us at GYC Vegas on Instagram, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn, and subscribe to our channel wherever you stream podcasts. And if you want to learn more about how your business can enhance its marketing efforts through the power of PR, visit our website at gycvegas.com. Thanks for listening to Get Your Chat On with GYC Vegas, and we'll see you next time.